Hey everyone, it's me, Mr. J.
And I'm Tricky Rick.
Welcome to the Living Life Between the Lines podcast, where we explore the ups and downs, ins and outs, and the many wild and beautiful journeys throughout the bisexual swinger lifestyle. Yeah, in today's episode, we are absolutely thrilled to dive into the story of the week with a guest with a unique perspective that we haven't featured on this show before. That perspective is the swinger couple, where the husband is bisexual and the wife is straight. Today's guest is an amazing person who brings a friendly open-mindedness and supports her partner from his goofball personality to his wild and kinky side. Please welcome to the show our good friend Nikki of Jeff and Nikki.
Yay, Nikki!
Yeah.
Yay. All right.
So we're going to explore Jeff and Nikki's bi journey as a couple and how they each found the lifestyle, what it's been like navigating swinging, friendships, and the lessons they learned along the way. And we will also talk about how Jeff opened up about exploring his sexuality and how Ricky's events have made an impact on their lives, including their wedding at Bi Week 2023.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but before we jump in, make sure you smash that like button, share this show with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss on any future content. Head over to bievents.com. That's bi-events.com to sign up for a profile to get all the 411 on Bi Events news. So with all that being said, let's get into it. So, Nikki, thank you so much for coming out to the show.
Yes, Nikki,
Well, thank you
welcome.
for
Glad you're
having
here.
me.
We're just excited about having you out and hearing a perspective that not a lot of people have really thought of, you know, so
true.
You're very unique because I think you said you're the unicorn here.
Yes.
You know, it's funny because I get that. I get one of the questions that I get a lot of times. I even had it today where a couple called me and she's like, well, she's not really bi, you know, but she's more on the straight side. Is it all right for her to come to the party? And I'm like, absolutely. I said, that's definitely you're more than welcome to come. We just want to make sure that the guys are either bi or bi-curious. And then you really, you know, fit that note because you've always been here coming to the parties and be very supportive of us and Nikki and everything else.
Yeah.
So,
And it's funny. Same thing here. Like any couples that I talk to, it's like, well, the wife's like, oh, well, my wife's straight. I'm like, that's fine. As long as you are bi, that's okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So, all right. So Nikki, so let's take it back to the beginning. Where does your story as a couple start? How did you guys meet?
We actually met in the lifestyle back in spring of 2017. We had mutual friends who were having barbecues on the weekends, and we met. And in all honesty, and he knows this, I thought he was a big dork. And I just
He
come
still
out.
is a big dork.
He
We
is.
know how he
I
is.
know.
We love
And-
him to death.
I
I'll tell
know.
you.
And I just was like, I had just gotten out of a really bad relationship. It wasn't anything I was looking for. And we just, over time, our paths kept crossing and crossing and crossing. And finally, I was like, okay, I'll hang out with him. And then the relationship he was in at that time, she wasn't big into swinging. So we were kind of like each other's wingman. You know, so we'd go to parties together, and then I knew I had the safety of being in a party, a female, and not knowing people. And he knew, you know, okay, I'm here to help her. And just over time, it just kind of fell together. And
So you basically started out as party buddies.
Yeah,
You just
pretty
go out and
much,
he'd
yeah.
be your protector,
Wingman.
overwatcher,
Yeah,
wingman.
wingman, yeah.
Wing lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we laugh at, like, we think back to some of the stories and the instances of things that happened because people would always go up to him and be like, oh, I want to play with her. And he'd be like, well, you can play with her. Like, she's her own person.
Right.
You know, so it definitely was a dynamic at the time that was different than what we were used to, but it worked for us.
Nice. And over time, have you noticed that dynamic change? Is it different now, or?
Yes and no. The big reason I say no is because most of the parties that we do, which are mainly the bi events, is we know everybody. Like, we know most of the people know us. So, you know, they know that we're both very casual and easygoing, and, you know, I don't know that we've ever had a fight at a party or been mad or angry, and, you know, we are both very pleasers, so we just always want to try to keep everybody in a good mood. So it's rare that we run into an issue or, you know, there be a problem with something like that.
Sure. Well, that's good. Now, you both obviously met in the lifestyle.
Yes.
So why don't we go with Jeff's first? How did he get into the lifestyle?
Well, he, and I don't want to delve too much into it because it's kind of not a good lifestyle story, but at the time he was married and him and his wife were having some issues. And they hoped that opening up their relationship and exploring that would give them both the comfort and the level to do things that they felt that they couldn't do in their relationship. In time, I think personally, and I don't know, and I don't want to speak ill of her, I think she just kind of did it to be supportive of him. Yeah, because he's very much, if you've ever met my husband or know him, he is very much a pleaser. He's very much, I mean, at the parties, he wants everybody to have a good time, and he's like that in life. So I think, you know, he was all for it, and I think she did it to kind of help him become that person. So, and then they were in it a couple years before I met him. So they were still in new territory, and then they had opened up their relationship and became poly. Which is when I came into the picture, was they were trying the poly thing. She had a boyfriend and her boyfriend was married, and Jeff had dated several people. And so that took a totally different dynamic.
Right.
To add to the swinging was this whole new dynamic. So I think it worked out the way it did because it kind of had to all fall into place over time.
For sure. Yeah. And how about you? Like, how did you get into the lifestyle? How's your dabble?
So
probably a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah. So I always tell everybody I was in the lifestyle, or I knew about the lifestyle before it was called a lifestyle. So a quick backstory on me is I grew up with a single mom who was a hippie, who lived in a hippie commune, and they were into the peace, love, and fun.
Free love and all that stuff, yeah.
And I grew up in a house where there were mattresses several of them on the basement floor. At the time, obviously, 5 and 6, you don't understand. You know, my mom lived with 5 or 6 other couples. I didn't think anything of it. And as I got older, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'd always been around it. Like, to me, monogamy was just not something that I strived for. And then probably my early 20s, I was 24, 25, I decided that I wanted to settle down, but to do that, you know, I had to, you know, find a guy, and we had to be normal and have a normal relationship. And so I tried the monogamy, and I tried that for about 5 or 6 years, and I was just absolutely miserable. There was nothing about it that strived to me. So then this is early 2000s. So like I said before, it was a lifestyle. So then me and the guy that I was with kind of went our separate ways. And ever since then, I just have come back to where, you know, every once in a while, for when it would get hard, I would go, okay, I'm going to just be monogamous. It'd be so much easier being monogamous. And then I would end up in a relationship and I'd be absolutely miserable. And I'm like, okay, this isn't it. This isn't working for me. And I moved back to Florida early 2011, and I met friends who happened to be in the lifestyle and knew of some house parties and some things like that. So that's how I got back into it in Florida. And then obviously social media exploded. So then you had Facebook and you have the different websites. And so it's a lot more readily available for people to find a party or find what they're looking for versus back in the early 2000s where it was a house party and it was hush hush. And, you know,
you had to know somebody.
Yeah. If you didn't know somebody, you weren't invited. So it definitely was a journey. And then I met Jeff, and it, like I said, it just clicked for us. Like, we just, it works for us.
Yeah. Now, what have you guys, what have you both learned about trust and communication and emotional safety, like through this journey together?
That was when we first started. Like I said, we started out poly, and that for me is a whole different avenue. Like I just couldn't, which sounds weird, but I couldn't wrap my head around loving more than one person.
Right.
So it was very hard. We had to do a lot of communicating, a lot of talking, a lot of unpacking baggage, a lot of expressing fears that you don't normally have to express. So it definitely can be challenging. But I think for us, and we always talk about this, is that we know our rules. I think that's the biggest thing I always tell new people is like, don't do what anybody else does. It's you and your partner. What works for us may not work for you, may not work for you. And if one party doesn't follow the rules, then it's an issue. If you're not comfortable, you've got to say it. You've got to speak your mind. If there's a situation, maybe not necessarily in the moment. I know a lot of couples say they have hand signals or things like that.
Code words or something, yeah.
We've been playing together, 8 years now. So for us, we pretty much can read the situation and we know what the other person's thinking or feeling. But we always make a point to talk before we go to a party. We always like to look to see who's there, who we might be interested in. And then when we go home, we always make a point. We want to have a conversation. What'd you do? Who'd you do? What fun? Were there issues? Were there problems? And we very much, even when we're not at a party, we constantly talk about it. And it's just something that we found that communication, you've got to communicate with your partner or it's just not going to work.
Oh, 100%. So in that communication and that unpacking of baggage that you mentioned, was that when Jeff had talked about his sexuality and wanting to explore, or was that later?
Yeah, actually it was. So he had dabbled in being a bull, playing with other couples and doing the cuckold and being the bull, and he really liked that.
I couldn't see him doing that, being a goofball as he is.
He's a master. Like I say that in the sense of there is a side to him that turns me on and scares me at the same time.
Really?
And not in a bad way, just because it's just like you said, he's the big goofball and everything to him is a joke, but he can be very serious if he needs to be. And he just, once again, being a people pleaser, I think that situation, because that's what the couple was looking for, it was very much what he decided, okay, I like this. And then when we got together, it had come up a couple times in conversation that he knew, once again, a pleaser, he knew that was a turn on for me. There's just something about two men that was just a complete turn on to me. Like I could literally just sit in the room and watch. And he knew that. So he would start, kind of watching videos and dabbling in it. And so it just kind of went from there. And I think because we were both so open with our sexuality, it was never you want to do what? For me, it was just a straight up, okay, if that's what you want to do, let's try it. Let's do it.
And so leading up to that, like that first experience, was it a Ricky party that?
It was Ricky's very first party. Yes.
Oh, so tell us about that.
So he was at another venue. I won't say who it is, but he was at another venue and it's literally in our backyard. And we had knew Ricky before he started the Bi events. We'd known Ricky for several years before that. And he had kind of put the word out there that he wanted to try Bi. I don't even know if he had a name at that point, but he wanted to try Bi parties. And we love Ricky. He's been a awesome part of our lives and we wanted to go and support him. Like even if it wasn't something that we would have enjoyed, we wanted to go and we wanted to be there. We wanted to support him. And sure enough, we went and it probably was one of the best things we ever did. And I tell everybody that I know that about the Bi group and the Bi parties is that it is one of the most freeing lifestyle adventures parties you will ever have because everybody is so open and for a while, we noticed that the regular swing life had gotten very cliquey.
Blah, yeah.
Yeah, and you would go to a party and nobody was having fun or nobody was making connections. And we just got to where, okay, this isn't our cup of tea. And we go to Ricky's parties, and I don't think we've ever come home from a party and been disappointed. I don't think we've ever been like,
that
I didn't
seems to be a normal
have,
thing.
I didn't have a good time. And we really like the crowd because everybody brings their own unique story. And because it is so many different unique stories, I don't think anybody is, oh, you're into that. Or like, there's never that stigma of, what? Like, it's just, I mean, we tell people we've seen some things that I've been like, what? Oh, wow. But I'm totally like, that's your cup of tea. Go for it. Have fun. And I just love that it's very freeing, that it's just very, and we've come and played, and there's been times we've come and just hang out.
Yeah. Now tell us about the very first, after that very first party. What was it like when you got home? Like reliving that moment, like how was that?
So we'd done group orgies, because that's basically what it turned into. We had done group orgy, but we had never done man on man. So I know at one point I literally like laid on one of the beds in the room and just watched this pile of men have fun. And for me, it was just, it was. I mean, I was like, and my, at the time,
I think I remember that party. You and there was like 4 girls or 5 girls just standing.
Yeah, we were just like,
it looked like school dance. They were just on the sidelines, just sort of watching.
And they would be like, "Come join us," and we were like, "No, we're good. We're watching.
Okay,
yeah,
right, fine,
have at it." So it was very. We left and we were like, oh my God, I hope he keeps doing that. I hope he finds the home and the people. And after that, and I don't think there were 15 people there.
Yeah, about 15. Yeah,
and we've watched it grow to where it's international. Like there's people all over the world that we've met and we've talked to. And it also, we've discovered, which we think is awesome, is how we've run into people in other places who know about the group. We had gone to Hedo, and the following year we ran into a couple who knew a couple that we knew from Hedo, so it's just, he's turned it into this wonderful, beautiful group that is family
you guys
to
have
us.
Made it part of that. I've just supplied the venue and
but
sort of the ingredients. You guys have always given me feedback and is like, you try this and try that, and and the little bit of the changes. You guys are all, Jaye and Nikki, you guys have always been there to sort of tweak it a little bit here and there, and Jeff and it's always been a part of that the group that we've sort of all sort of developed this, and it sort of has worked out and been I explain it to my mother sometimes about the parties because she's always excited about hearing how they are and stuff. It's really funny. And it's like, we always get a different variety of people there, but we do have some key people that have always been there, and they're really the backbone of that, really what make this thing drive it and keep it going so much. So
for sure. So let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about what has it been like navigating the lifestyle as a couple where one partner, Jeff, is bisexual and you being the straight one?
It can be challenging only because we've discovered that a lot of people in the bi environment, it's usually both partners are bi. So they want to do a full swap, but they want it to be a bi swap. And then you have me who's like, yeah. And I will say, in my own defense, is I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not straight like lace.
Are you a pillow princess?
Yes and no. So I love women. I think women are beautiful. I don't mind kissing. I don't mind some playing. But at the end of the day, and this is kind of rough, is I love cock. I love dick. So I just, but I don't, there's couples in this group that we've played with where I've played with the girl. But at the end of the day, it's not the turn on for me. But it does help because I can be like, okay, that's a cute couple, or that's a nice looking guy, or that's a nice looking girl. But we do run into a lot of Jeff having to explain, well, we can get together and my wife will play a little, but she's more going to watch than want to play with your wife.
Right.
And like I said, for me, and someone actually in the group had said it, and I chuckled because it did fit, was that I'm bi-situational. Not even bi-comfortable. It's situational. I know last year for my birthday, a big group of us all went to Secrets, and I ended up playing with a couple of the girls. But it was a big orgy. It was a big group of people, and it just kind of felt right. And it was somebody that I felt good with. And she was like, I want to fuck you. And I was like, okay. So, but I don't have that desire to just hook up with a girl.
Yeah, so for you, it's more of the heat of the moment, and like if it feels right with the specific person that you've known for a while.
Yes.
But if it's like a random couple that comes to a party and you're like, not your thing.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a story. So I was dating a girl, a young lady for a while. She now lives in Dallas, Texas, and she was bar bi, basically. She would
Bar by.
car ball bar. She's like gets a couple drinks in her and she can be a pillow princess. But other than that, she's straight. She really was not. And I had people email me and say my profile was backwards. That I had them, and they're like, what do you mean she's not bi? Like, they would be upset. Like, to the point of, that's not right. What do you mean that she's not bi? And I'm like, well, she's straight. And, you're bi and she's straight. And it's like, people couldn't grasp that. It was like such a twist in the thing. And we even laugh about that today. And so it was really one of those situations where people just were uneducated, and that, just because of that situation, we just had to navigate what worked and what didn't work. And again, it comes back to the communication.
For sure.
Yes.
Have you ever had that happen where you had a couple like kind of like what's the word, like
I don't want to
judge
say
you or?
Yes, we have. Unfortunately, I will say that as a whole, we get people, and I don't want to say this group, but we do run into that bi where, like I said, they're looking for a bi couple. Well, my wife's bi and I'm bi, so if we just play, what's my wife gonna do? So we have run into that, and we've had people who've been like, thanks, but no thanks. Okay, well then that's not your cup of tea. We try very hard to never be negative or, like literally that's okay, not your cup of tea. I'm not mad. I'm not going to judge you, but we've run into situations. So normally I always tell people, like, if you want to get to know us and communicate, he's the one to talk to. Like, he's who you want to talk to. He lays it out. He knows. I don't want to say I get kind of, but I do. I get like, I'm like, okay, well, you're judging me. Like, we're in a lifestyle that you shouldn't be judging me. And yes, my situation's a little different, but like I said, I'm not prudish about it. I just,
You're almost experiencing the flip side, because with bi couples, it's usually the bi male who's getting the stigma.
Yes.
So in your case, it's the straight female that's getting the stigma. That's very interesting.
Yes, but I can say, and that once again, why we're part of this group is that we really just don't get that. Like I feel Ricky's parties, bi parties are the only environments at a party, not like a friend, but a party where I feel comfortable walking away from my husband. Sure. And it's not a case of, the men want the men. It's just, I feel
just the environment itself.
I feel comfortable. Like, we will come to the mansion parties and he flutters away and I flutter away, and sometimes we'll meet in the middle and talk, and other times he'll come back and be like, oh my God, did you see what I just got to do? So that is another reason why we love this group, is because we don't have that. And every couple will get this. There'll be some times where he wants to play and I don't want to play, and there'll be some times where I want to play and he doesn't want to play. So we also found here in this environment that helps, because I think last time we were here, I was just like, I'm not, you go. And he went back and had a big old orgy in a room. And I sat up here on a couch and talked to somebody.
Sure. Yeah. I one thing I can say about Ricky's party is that it doesn't matter what shape you are, what size you are, what color you are, what even your orientation, as long as you're not straight, of course, a male, straight male, of course. But, everybody's welcome, you know. So.
And I love that. And I love talking to people and learning, how they got into the lifestyle and what they're into. And I love it that it's just so non-judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
So we already talked about how you discovered bi events and what your early impressions were, but when did you know that bi events was your new home? Like that was like the one party, like when you have the chance to go out, you're not going to miss it.
His first party. And I know that sounds weird. I mean, there were 10 people, maybe 15, but we literally.
But we had a relationship before that. I think that a lot of that had to do with, and I think, and it may have been a situation where we may have played prior to starting of the party. So I think a lot of that was already developed, and we had already sort of, when I think back about, wow, some of the great parties that I had were small, intimate parties. You guys were part of that from the very beginning. So I think that sort of just added on into all like, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this. I want to make sure you're there. And so I think they fit in right away from the very beginning.
Yeah, like we have kids. We have young kids at home. I shouldn't say young, teenagers. We go out of our way to make sure that we can be at a bi event. If it's on a weekend that because we trade off the kids where we don't have them, we have no problems. And like Ricky said, I mean, there's been many times he's like, oh, I'm trying something new, or I'm going to do this, and we've had events where they weren't bi events, where we've all just gotten together and gone to a house party, and we always try to make a point because, like I said, I've never come away from a party and not been happy. I've never gone home angry, mad, upset. I've never been like, oh, I wasted money or I wasted time. I didn't
get a phone call at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
what the
hell's
going on? Yeah.
And I can say, you have your ups and downs, and you have, I hate to bring this up, but you do get the creepers. But I can say I've literally watched Ricky handle the situation right away. Like if there is an issue or a problem, I saw him at Hedo literally walk into the room and tell somebody, you need to come out. We need to have a conversation. So while that sucks, that also lets me know that I'm in a safe environment. Females in general, that's important, and then I think the vulnerability of being a bi man, because it is still very much, I hate to say that, looked down on. I think if I was a bi man, that would also be like, wow, like he's in it for me. Like he doesn't just say what he says, he preaches it. He lives it. He literally, I'm going to make it a safe environment. And I love that he has filtered the straight men out. I know that sounds horrible, but
I've become a little bit lax down a little bit, more than I was originally.
Yeah, but I love that. I love that because, and I had heard a couple people in the very beginning go, oh, well, I'm going to go to an event and pretend to be bi so that I can bang all the women while the men are banging each other, and that just made me want to like punch someone in the face, because I'm like, you're ruining what he's trying to create. Like you're the problem. And I can honestly say,
so my venting process back then was like, if you wouldn't suck my dick, or if I couldn't suck your dick, you couldn't come to the party, period. It didn't matter what you said. It didn't matter where you put on a profile, but physically, if you would not do that, then you know what, you can't come to the party. And I've since then have sort of laxed, because it was sort of a little bit more of aggressive, but it basically was like, weeding them out,
you're trying to build a new thing.
And people try to get whatever. I mean, the single guys to do whatever, just try to get in. And it's like, you can tell, you get that feeling. And it's like, if I get that feeling, it's like, I know that the females and even the guys, it's just one person can just change the vibe in the room.
100%.
And that's just important that we do that from the very beginning.
Oh yeah. And when it comes to like playing, outside of, your parties, a big thing for me and, Elizabeth and Kitty is that, when we're going to play with a single male, he's got to be bi. It's required. Okay. Couples, it's not required, because there's other things we can do. But, you know,
Yeah.
when it comes to a single man, it's required that he's bi. So every time we get a message from a single guy on SLS, SDC, or you name it, the first message is always hi. It's 9 out of 10 times it's hi. And then I'm always like, well, hello, are you bisexual? And then I either don't get an answer or I get a, I'm willing to get my dick sucked. And then there's the other one is, oh yeah, I'm 100% bi. Those are usually the three biggest answers.
The response you get right away is basically you narrow it down.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the ones who say, well, I'm willing to get my dick sucked, I'm like, you're not bi enough.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're just there for there.
Have you guys ever experienced anything like that? Do you even play with others from like
Yes.
offline?
Yes.
Or, okay, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so we play with couples. We've played with guys. We've played with guys from here that we've met up with outside of here. Jeff is very much a social butterfly. So he does a lot of chit-chatting and talking and vetting. I guess that would be the best word. And we've met couples. Like we were supposed to meet up with a couple this week where he was bi and she was bi, but they were okay with me being straight. So we just kind of have to vet that out. How he vets that out, I'm not 100% sure. I do know, like, we have some rules. We really try hard not to, and I know this is bad, but we really try hard not to play with new people in the sense of they're new in the lifestyle.
You want to try to teach them.
And only because, and like Ricky said, you get that vibe. Like when you talk to somebody, you can tell, like, and we are very no drama. No, Yeah, you even hint at drama, not in. And there's been many times we've met people and we'll be like, oh yeah. And then something will be said or done and I'll be like, nope. Not interested. Like, I know it's going to be, and we are so not dramatic. Like,
oh yeah, you guys are the least dramatic people I've ever met.
I just like, I'm here, I'm going to have fun. He's here, he's going to have fun. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, we're not, like, and that's another thing. Like, we don't show up to a party going, I'm going to fuck. I'm going to fuck somebody. Like, that's another thing I always hated about people at certain parties is, oh, well, I paid money and I'm going to fuck somebody. And, for us, it's, no, we're here. We want to have fun, and we've come to parties and we've only played with each other. Like, okay, well, you all play on that bed and we're going to play on this bed and have fun and watch you all. Like, so it's just, we enjoy the people and the environment.
So you've been coming to Ricky's parties and you've been going for a while. So let's talk about Hedo. And let's talk about some of your highlights and your best memories.
Not that I was surprised, but I was very, I don't know, it was sort of an honor thing. It was like really, it's like seeing, I don't want to say like seeing my children get married or something like that. I mean, that sort of sounds weird, right?
No,
but it's like, just having some really good friends, close friends that, you cherish them and you love them and you respect them, and for them to say that they would like to come and to do something that honorable and that memorable at your event.
That's a big deal.
In Jamaica, getting married in Jamaica is a big deal,
So why don't you tell us about that? Tell us about your wedding day. This the whole experience.
I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
I was never that girl that wanted a big wedding. Like honestly, I met Jeff in my 40s and I'm single. I've never been married. Like it just wasn't, if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. And we had gone to the very first bi Hedo,
the small one,
and we loved it. We met so many wonderful people from all over the world, and it was just from beginning to end, we loved Hedo. He had been to Hedo once before, several years before, and he had gone with a group of people that were swingers, but not bi. And he enjoyed it, and I had never been to Hedo. So when he came back from that vacation, he told me that was actually what sealed our relationship, is when he got home from his first trip. He came home and he said, I will never go on vacation without you again. And I was like, okay, well, you owe me a trip to Hedo. Like, that's how it started. And, life gets in the way. That was like 2018 and things. And then Ricky was like, hey, I'm trying to do a small Hedo party in bi party in Hedo, and we were like, oh, hell yeah. I'm like, you owe me a vacation. So we went to the first one, and like I said, it was a great environment. Everybody there was nice and sweet, and we just loved it. We loved the way he did, the different get-togethers and the cocktail, and we loved that you could still be on vacation. You want to come and hang out, you can. You want to come,
walk on the beach, you can. Yeah.
So it was like the perfect environment for us. So the following year, while we were there, we booked for the next year, which we found out while we were there was a full takeover. He announced it. We were like, okay, we've got to come support this. So like February or March of the following year, he comes home one day and he goes, we can get married in Hedo. And I was like, okay. And that was like the end of the conversation. So a couple of weeks later, he's like, so did you look at getting married in Hedo? I was like, bitch, you haven't even asked me to marry you. We're not even Yeah, I was like, I'm like, we're not even engaged. Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, pull it up on your computer, pull it up. So we got on there and we looked, and it was literally what I had always said I wanted. I wanted a small, intimate wedding on a beach with some close friends or no friends. I didn't want the hoopla. And so
more about the marriage than more than the wedding.
I don't have 300 people that I want standing there watching me get married. I just don't. I don't mean that in a mean way to anybody who's had a large wedding. I personally just don't have that. And so my first thing was, we both kind of looked at each other and I'm like, okay, I don't want to take away from Ricky. I don't want to take away from the bi event. This is his week to shine. This is his week. So I was like, we have to ask Ricky. I know that sounds weird.
So maybe they were asking me if they're hand in marriage. Jeff was like, hey, can I marry Nikki?
But it kind of was. And it wasn't like a permission to get married.
Right.
It was a permission to get married at his event. And of course he immediately was like, fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There was no hesitation. I even want to say he might have got a little misty eye.
I definitely did. I'm telling you what, I was just like, really?
So
wow.
It just felt right.
It's like one of those things. It's like, when we did the first takeover, they gave us 20 rooms. And then the second takeover, by the time they gave us enough rooms, we had 57 rooms and we were actually able to do a partial takeover. And they were part of that. And then the following year, we were able to do a full takeover. And that was amazing in itself.
Yeah.
But then to add the frosting on top of it, to have friends and family and people you love and cherish to go there and to honor, they extended it even more. They created an event, give it a little bit more pizzazz, and so when I came back and I'm like, guys, they're gonna get married in Jamaica at Bi Week. I felt like the proud little child. I was like,
every party,
holy shit.
They're getting married in October,
Yes,
and they're getting married.
He was kind of promoting it along with the vacation.
I was part of the event.
That's perfect. So after that, it just kind of fell into place. We had one person who didn't come to Bi Week come in, and she was actually the person who introduced us way back in the day in the lifestyle. And then we literally had, this is weird, but we could have 2 seats that were part of the ceremony, or we could pay to have everybody sit. So I was like, okay, I want my 2 seats to be Ricky and our friend that.
So then they asked me to be in the wedding, did they not?
So
I was like, oh wow,
I was like, to me, he helped strengthen our relationship, and so it was just. And then I
even had to sign the paperwork.
Yes,
the little.
He was our. And he's in our wedding pictures, So when we got there, it was kind of we literally told everybody, look. We're getting married on the beach. If you want to come, we did it. I won't lie. We did it early in the morning so that it wouldn't interfere with anything else. And then we had the day to celebrate. And the only rule I had.
It's hot in Jamaica on the beach, so getting there.
And this is funny because this is a lifestyle rule. The only rule I had was we fucked each other first. Like
there
we
you
were
go.
at an event, but I was like, we are going to,
Consummate this marriage first.
After that, I don't care what happens. We can go have a big
Kama
orgy.
Sutra room.
Yeah.
Kama
And
Sutra
that
room
was-
for the bachelor.
And
yeah.
that's exactly what we did. Like we literally, so it just was, so we had I don't want to say quiet because it wasn't quiet, but we had it was intimate. Our really close peeps came down, stood there. Like I kind of felt bad for the resort because they were like, well, how many people do you think come? And I'm like, maybe 10. Like that's what I was thinking. And yeah, I mean, she was like, I don't have enough.
Well, we put it on the register and the flyers, and I
Yeah.
announced it. I'm like,
I mean,
I put it on the,
but
on
I
the
also
brochure, on the-
didn't, and I can say everybody that came as a part of our group, like I will say that, in our intimate core group, but I didn't think that many was going to show. Like it overwhelmed me emotionally that like, wow, all these people, they're my family. Like, I mean, yeah. So it was just, so then I wanted to make sure, like I made sure everybody was in a couple wedding pictures but I felt bad for our coordinator because she literally was like, I don't have enough wine. I don't have enough champagne. And I'm like, and we were
they're worried
probably
about
the
it.
easiest bride because I'm just like, okay, I'm not worried. Like there
We're
are
at a resort. It's
yeah.
all you can drink. Let's
I'm
go to
like,
the bar.
so I will say if you ever want to get married in Hedo, they do an awesome job. Like top notch. So she made sure that everybody had a glass of champagne and everybody got
the cake was amazing.
the
cake
Yeah,
was
that was
something.
pretty good.
awesome.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And
That was
so,
worth the flight to Jamaica in
Yeah,
itself.
yeah,
I
right.
know. It was. So it was perfect. It was just
And you and Jeff set a trend because I think in 2024 another couple
Got
that,
married,
that
yes.
come to your parties,
Yes.
they had their
they
wedding
actually called us and was like, so give us a lowdown on getting married in Jamaica. And I just chuckled. And the next time I saw him, he's like, you started a trend.
Yep. It was.
there. Do you have
And
any
I'm
weddings
like-
lined up for this October? Or
No, not yet. Not that I know of. I mean,
You hear that, folks?
There's no
if you want to
telling.
get married at Hedo, here's your chance.
It's beautiful and cheap. Like, I mean, and I don't mean cheap as in like they cheaply do it. I mean pricing.
Right.
I want to say our wedding was like $500 for everything.
Yeah.
They did the minister, they did a DJ, they did photography, and then the guests. And so we got champagne, we got cake, and the next day you get breakfast in bed, which was awesome because we
cool.
actually got married at the end of the week. So it was the day we were leaving. So we literally had breakfast in bed while we packed. And so, but yeah, it was perfect. And it was for us, for me, probably more so than Jeff, it was very emotional because, and a lot of people in this group know this, but my family several years ago had disowned me because of this lifestyle. So I haven't spoke to like my dad and my mom in years. So it was just very, and I think when we were getting married, that was kind of like, I was kind of sad about it because I'm like, I'm not going to have people there that love and support me.
But you had that.
I had that. I had it 100%. And I actually have the photo of everybody from the wedding that actually came. I actually have it on my wall because it meant that much to me.
The one where we flashed everybody.
No. So yes. So let's
All the guys turn around, show their butts.
So they had everybody turn around and do a butt shot, and then they had all the women do a titty shot, and then they had all the men do a dick shot.
Yep.
So these photos, while I have one of each, I would never show without anybody's permission. And I do have kids at home. So they did a really nice one that was us with everybody clothed. And that's
So
the one on
where'd
my...
you tell the kids you got married?
They know. Our
Oh,
kids.
really?
That is one thing that we have always, I don't want to say strived for, but we've always made a point. We do not hide it from our children.
Right.
I don't want my child to ever be ashamed of anything they do, ever.
Because most
And-
people go to Sandals next door and
Yeah.
they take
So-
pictures there and they.
So, and before we actually booked it, we did sit down with the kids and say, do you want to be there? Because obviously I would not get married without the kids. I just wouldn't do it. But they were both at that age where they were both like, really? like a wedding, like, eh. So we made a point when we came home in the spring, we did a big barbecue.
Yes.
And had everybody.
Which was also very beautiful.
So we just and that's where we did with his parents and the kids. And my brother's always been supportive of us. So I made a point to tell him and his wife if they wanted to, because we told Jeff's parents if they wanted to come to Hedo, they could, for the ceremony and stuff. Like, we didn't tell anybody they couldn't come. We just were like, look, if you don't want to come, we understand it, but this is how we want to do it. And the best advice I've ever gotten was actually from his mom. And he said, you do what makes you happy because it's your day. And that like sealed it for me, because that let me know that they were okay with whatever we did.
Now, going back to your parents disowning you and then talking about it with your children. So I'm assuming you're doing that so you break that cycle and break that, so that doesn't come up again. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? Like, what was that like, talking about that with your kids? Because I know some listeners out there would be like, oh, I would never tell my children.
We really gear conversations with them to their age. Obviously, I'm not going to tell my 13-year-old daughter I run around naked at a party. Right. Like
age appropriate.
Yeah, age appropriate. But our daughter has always been, I don't want to say different because that's not the right word, but we knew that she geared that way. Like, as long as we can remember, she liked dressing like a boy and she pretended to be a boy. And about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, she came home and she goes, I'm gay. And I was like, she was like 7. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But then I thought about it. I'm like, okay, she's 7. Like, what does a 7-year-old think about really being gay?
Yeah.
So I just asked her, I said, okay, well, do you understand what that means? And she's like, well, that's when a girl loves a girl or a boy loves a boy. And I went, okay, for a 7-year-old, that's literally,
that's pretty simple.
That's a very
that's
innocent,
pretty simple,
very,
innocent.
Yeah.
And me and Jeff literally were like, we are going to love you no matter what. There is nothing you will ever do, ever, that will make me not love you. I may be disappointed in something you do throughout your lifetime, but I will never not love you. So we have just always been very open with our kids. I know you last year at the holidays had come, we do a holiday brunch, and he'd come and you literally made that comment. You were like, you are so open in front of your kids. And I'm like, there is we don't go into detail, but yeah, our kids, I mean, a lot of people need to realize that when we got together, me and my husband now, he was already married in a poly relationship. So like they had already kind of broke that with the kids. And basically it was, with the kids, it was, you have more people who love you. You're going to have more than one person who you can go to and ask for love and support. And, and I think for us, I think especially with our daughter and the lifestyle that she is drawn to, I think sometimes she still gets a little scared in the beginning. She would tell us things and you could tell she was kind of like timid and afraid to say stuff. Now there's things that comes out of her mouth and I just chuckle because I'm like, wow, okay, well, I'd rather her tell me than hide it. Yeah. So and we make a point because
when the tough times come, she's going to come to you first.
Right.
That's it.
Right. That's important.
Yes.
So for me, if it were my children, because call me old fashioned, and this is probably a hot take, and it might rub some people the wrong way, but I'm very much into preserving the innocence of children, even though I don't have any. So some might say, that's very hypocritical. You don't even know what you're talking about. But at the same time, I do feel that way, and I also feel like if I was to inform my children about my lifestyle and about my sexuality and things in an age appropriate way. What if their curiosities get the best of them, and then they go online and then they find some person that I don't want that person teaching them? That's my thing.
But here's the thing.
How does that make you feel?
And this is the best way I can say that they're going to do it whether
they're going to do it anyway. Yeah.
And I rather them come to me and have the facts and the truth and the openness. So I'll just use my daughter as an example. She's obviously coming into her body and growing. So our agreement is my husband will help my son in that avenue because I'm not a boy. I don't know what boys' hormones did. And my daughter. And I had bought her a book that literally went over some very hard topics. But I'm like, you know what? I want her to know the truth. I want her to understand, especially and this is, and anybody out there who has a child who's like this, being a teenager is hard to begin with. And then you throw in, I'm different, because while I don't feel that she's different, a girl being gay at 13 is different. I hate to say that. Society as a whole still frowns on that, and it's a hot topic. And I'm like, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. At the end of the day, I need to make sure my child's okay.
Right,
I
that's
need
the
to
right
make
thing to do
sure
at the end of the day.
my child
Yeah.
has the right information, because if I don't give it to her, she's going to find it somewhere else.
Right. And you would prefer it came from
Yes.
you.
You
Yeah.
know, and I know she's still going to go out there and hear stuff and say stuff. And we try very hard when they do bring things up that we know are wrong. Not like, oh, that's wrong, but okay, well, where did you hear that? We have tried with our kids to very much get them to do the investigation, look it up, learn the facts, just because we don't want our kids to be, I hate to say this, sheeps. I don't want you to just follow the crowd. I want you to know why you're doing something or why people feel the way they feel.
So let me ask you this question. I had a situation where there was a gentleman that comes to the parties on a regular. He'll be here tonight. I'm not going to say his name, but we at Hedo's, we have seminars, and at those seminars we sit basically around, and we have different ones based on different things. And I think one of them that came up was, how do you talk to your family, and how do you communicate to your family about your bisexuality and about the lifestyle and things like that? And that basically brought up a lot of questions. And he really basically was having a hard time with that. His daughter was transgender, and that he didn't want to go to her, and he had no problem with her being transgender, but he had a hard time with him going to her and telling him that he was bisexual. Yeah. And for him, that was a big deal. Like, he was like emotionally torn and in tears about this, about how dramatic that was, that he could never go to her and he could never talk to her. And I said, you do what you need to do, and it's a process. And then it was funny because the next month after Hedo's, we came actually to a mansion party, and he came up to me, and he was in the same emotional state, was like, you're never going to believe, I talked to my daughter and I told her.
That's
and
awesome.
It was like, it has created such a bond with us that now it's something that I never would able to do. I told her exactly how I felt and me bisexual, and she basically opened up about her, and it opened up that communication. So with that, I ask, does she know that that Jeff is bi?
No, but we have learned over the years that, this is going to sound weird, especially in this group, our private life is just that. It's our private life. No one
I'm sure
knows.
the question came up and it was a straightforward be absolutely, but it's like,
oh yeah, it's not
not
come
gonna be
up.
brought up.
Yeah,
Throw it up in
and
your
it's
face.
like you
Yeah.
said, it's age appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't want my 7-year-old to be picturing daddy having
Yeah.
sex with even me. Like, it's not
Right,
even
right.
like we literally, this is horrible, but we went on vacation this summer.
She's still 7 now?
No, she's 13 now.
Right,
But when
right.
we started this
Right,
journey,
gotcha, yes.
so now if it were to come up, I don't know that it would be such a bad conversation. But it's weird because, for the first time ever, our son caught us a couple months ago having sex. Oh, wow. He walked in, and it was, and we all laughed about it, and we literally were like, well, hey, you're 16. That's the first time it's ever happened. We obviously doing so, but it's like those kind of things, they're going to happen.
But again, it opens up the communication.
Yeah, and it opens up but now he still gets a little, every once in a while, we'll joke or pick about it, and he'll just be like, oh man. But he also, the other day, he came over to the house and the door was locked, and he was like, nope, I wasn't going inside because I knew what was going on. Uh-huh. So it's just, we're all human, but we don't, and that's one thing I can say with Jeff's bisexuality is that we don't push it. It's not he's ashamed of it. We just realize that there are some conversations you just don't want to have.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
There are some people you're never, my parents, I hate to say that, and I love them. I love my dad and I love my mom, but I know I'm never going to change their opinion. And it was either continue to try and be toxic or to just let it go. So I just had to let it go. So we don't, and we didn't even tell my parents the point of what we did. It was just like, hey, we're in an open relationship and this is how we are. Obviously, if my kids came and had questions, I would by all means educate them and tell them. Would it be a hard conversation? I'm sure it would be, but I also want them to hear it from me. So it's not in their face, but we don't hide it. We don't, and it's the same thing with his bisexuality. Like, we have several friends that we know, if they heard that he was bi, would be completely, utterly uncomfortable. Through the years, we've kind of distance ourselves from people like that.
I had that situation with my mother. Now, my mother's a lesbian. She's been married for 30 plus years, and I love Margie and her, and she's always been very open and free about everything, what she's done and been, and, the whole lifestyle stuff. And but for me, it was really weird. I had a problem, like, letting her know, like, actually physically saying that I was bi. Like, for me, even being in the lifestyle and being around there, I think a lot of it has to do with that, we're so emotionally ingrained in that. Like, there's so much emotional involvement there. Obviously it's your mother and this whole situation. And it's like, I accept her for who she is right from the very beginning. Why would she not accept me, especially her son? And, that whole thing has created that excitement and stuff. And, I was telling them yesterday the whole series of events that happens today. And, Margie and them are on the edge of their seats, they're wanting to know exactly what we're doing. And it's like, always ask me when I first get back, so how'd the party go? How was it? And it's just a part of that communication that we've grown to help us connect a little bit more. It's helped free me, I guess, emotionally a little bit more. But it was a tough time. So I think that's why this is a very much, this group is more than just getting together and throwing mattresses on the floor and just letting people play in dark rooms and type of thing. This is more about a community and people helping people, teaching people, and with yourself being straight and or bi-bar or whatever you want to call it.
Not bi-bar.
Yeah, not bar
situational.
Bar situational,
Yeah.
or anything in that situation is that we're here. There's other people here to help you get through those little situations that you maybe are struggling with, and I think that's what really sets us apart from other, like, just regular lifestyle events.
I agree with that.
I would agree with that too. And since you both talked about y'all's parents, I'll just mention mine. Like, I'm very fortunate where my parents were a unique situation because they don't approve of my lifestyle. They've mentioned that very much, that they don't approve, but
They still love
they
you.
still love me for who I am. And my mom, when I broke the news to her, she was actually more, for lack of better terms, upset that my wife and I were non-monogamous than me being bisexual. And I think that was because I was already married to Kitty and I came out to her as bi. So it was like, okay, my son's bi, but he's married to a woman, so that's fine. But when I came out to her, told her about our lifestyle, that was a whole nother story. And I told them at separate times because I could not tell them at the same time because I know that would have been a problem. So I told my mom first, and then about, I don't know, 3-4 months later, my dad comes down. This is when he was living up north still, and he comes down and he says, "Did you tell your mother that you were having a?" And anyway, I said, "Yeah," and he says, "Well, you shouldn't have, because now your mother is all going nuts about it." And yeah, he says, "I think she's jealous because she wants to live a life like that." And my dad's very, like, old fashioned, would never, So anyway, but yeah, we overcome that, and they know when we go off for a weekend, they know where we're going, and again, they love me, and I'm fortunate enough to have that, and I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that.
I will say, Jeff has been my rock through that.
Oh yeah, and his parents are great. They're very supportive.
They're
people.
very supportive. So it was very hard for me because I don't know. And I think that's how we are with our kids. Is I make a point to tell my daughter there's nothing.
You break that cycle.
Yeah, there is nothing you are ever going to do to make me not love you. Like, you come home, and I mean, she went through a phase where she came home and said she wanted to be a boy. Okay, you want to be a boy? I'm fine with that. It's
not going to change how
it's not going to change, and we do that with our kids because like you said, I want to break that cycle. Like, I just don't understand it. Like with my dad and his big thing was like, my brother even tried to help fix it. And my dad's thought was we disrespected him. And I'm like, okay, what I do in private is just that, me. Right. Like, so how is that disrespecting you? And like I said, to go back to the original part of that question is that we have just learned through the years who, I don't want to say can handle that, but we just, if it comes up, it comes up. We don't lie, but we're not in your face about it, and the same thing with his bisexuality. We have a couple friends that we know that would just kind of be a little weirded out by it. And over time, we've kind of distanced ourselves from a lot of people that we knew in the swinger lifestyle. Because we're different. I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way, but because it isn't the norm.
It's just a different mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like poly. We chuckle. When they came out as poly, several people were like, oh, like we had one of our friends kept telling me over and over, I needed to find Jesus. You need to find Jesus. You need to find Jesus. You need to find Jesus.
Those are always.
And I just literally was like, and now, because once again, things have changed. That's something else with this group is that several people are poly. And I'm like, oh, this is just, I just love this group because just I can't say one bad thing about it. And I'm not saying that because you're my friend. I'm saying that because that's the truth. Like, I don't know. And I chuckle because I always hear people like when they first come and, oh yeah, I've been to parties where they said that. And I'm like, no, you are never going to meet a group of people like this anywhere else. You're just not. You want to come and you want to be a pony, be a pony. You want to come and be a dog, be a dog. Nobody here is going to judge you or look at you or be like, oh, they're into that. And we had gotten to the point where that's how just being a swinger had gotten. I don't know. We had, and I won't say her name, but we had a group of friends that called a girl that we knew Carousel. She would go to a party and she would unwind and she'd have sex with a bunch of people. Oh, next ride. I'm like, really? Like, you're here fucking people too, and you're gonna give her a name? Like, and it got to the point where I was just like, I don't know. I don't even want to associate with you, let alone be your friend. And it just, so these parties just, I don't ever feel that.
I think so. I'm big into music, and 311's a big favorite band of mine, and their overall message is peace, love, unity, and respect. And that's all I ever experience when I come to one of Ricky's events is peace, love, unity, and respect.
It just is. And I tell everybody that comes the first time, like, we always want to make a point, like, how did you find us? And I say us because I feel like we're a community. How did you find us? Like, what are you into? And literally, we always try to make a point, like, at the end, what did you think? Like, what? And literally, everybody's always like, oh my God, I'm going to be back.
Sometimes, though, it can be overwhelming to some people because they're not used to it. They've been in the lifestyle for so many years.
I feel like those kinds of people that you're mentioning, those are the kind of people that they'll come to like one or two and then they're like, okay, and then they'll go away for a while.
And then
they come back. And
they're
like,
wow. And I always see them on the website, and I don't want to say they're lurking, but they're lurking. They're always sort of checking out and seeing what's going on and stuff like that. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's fine. You're always welcome to come here. So,
from speaking for Jeff, because that's what you've been doing all this whole podcast episode, because Jeff's a little camera shy and doesn't want to be on camera.
I know,
and that's okay.
Which is so funny because he's such a social butterfly. And when we were like kind of going over some questions, I'd get like one word answers. I'm like, really? Like,
so from Jeff's perspective, through you, or even your perspective, what's something that you wish that more people understood about bisexual men? And I mean, when I mean by people, I mean people in the lifestyle.
They're no different. They're no different. Like, and I think that kind of goes back to what I was just saying, that we met so many people in the lifestyle that were like, ew, no, you got judgment. No. I don't even want to be with you. I don't want to be around you. And we have several guy friends who are straight. Jeff doesn't hit on them. It's not like
not
I
attracted
almost
to straight
feel.
Guys.
Yeah, well, but it's not even that. I just don't think people realize it's not like we're just. I don't know. The stigma is I almost feel like people think, oh, you're just down to fuck whatever. no, no, if you're not comfortable, you're not comfortable. We're not going to go out of our way to make you uncomfortable. Now he does have, I take that back. We have one friend that we think is closet gay. And I love him, but we do. And so he'll talk to him about it, but never to the point where it's, I'm making fun of you or anything like that. And we've tried several times. We're like, hey man, you really need to come to these parties. We think you'd really enjoy yourself, but I don't think it changes him as a person. I don't think being bi, and I think that's one thing about it that really, I know bothers me. And I'm a girl, so I know it's got to bother the men, is that we live in a society where bi women are, and by men it's like, ugh.
Mandatory.
Why?
It's almost mandatory.
Yeah, why? Just because it isn't your kink doesn't mean it's not right or wrong. It's just not your kink, and leave it at that. So that's where I think, yeah, he's still just the same person. Yep. He is. And he is. If you know my husband.
We love Jeff.
If you know my husband, he is. He is the biggest goofball, and he always wants everybody to be happy. And he is the life of the party. He really is.
So what's new? What's next for you? What's next for Nikki and Jeff? Is any new adventures, upcoming events, anything you're excited about?
We're doing Hedo again this year.
Absolutely. A couple more weeks. What, like 40 something days now?
I don't know. October. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait. So I was actually shopping for outfits today. So that's probably our next biggest thing. The holidays are always really wonky with us and the kids and the schedule. And we trade off with the kids. So we have them for a week, and then we don't have them for a week. And it always seems that once you hit that month that has 5 weeks, our schedule changes. So then we don't match up when there's a party. So I'm pretty sure that happens like next month. So I know for a couple months we won't be able to make it to a party. But yeah, we just keep living, talking. I mean, I can honestly say that this group has introduced me to family. Like, that's the best way I can say it. Groups, like, we make a point to go to Mr. Jaye and Kitty's house every couple months. And, Ricky's come over for pool parties. And we try to make a point to really embrace the lifestyle. And we chuckle because, like, we all recently went to Secrets and nobody even played. We just went and had a nice free.
Hung out, yeah.
Oh, I definitely played.
Well, I meant
well, we know what kind of slut you are. So,
I meant together. Yeah, we played. At one point, I had a dick in my ear. Okay, so. I won't call out who it was, but it was pretty funny because they had a little too much to drink. And then the next day,
I know who you're talking about.
He literally was, I did what? And I'm like, yep, we were laying on the bed fucking, and you literally just kept tapping your dick on my ear. It was hilarious. But that's the kind of environment. Like, that's why I love these people. Like, in that moment, we were just dying laughing. And then finally I was like, you need to stop because I need to concentrate so I can get off. And then you could go back and stick your dick back in my ear. Like, that's, So, but yeah, just keep living our best lives.
100%. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
So before we go, is there any advice you'd like to share with any new couples that might be navigating the lifestyle and about dynamics, bisexuality, being a straight woman?
Communication. Communicate. Don't do anything you're not comfortable with. If your partner is pushing you to do something you're not comfortable with, don't do it. Like, I'm sorry that
it's not going to get any better.
It's not going to get any better. If you go into it and you don't want to do it, it's going to make it worse. And you can unpack every piece of baggage, and at the end of the day, you're still going to have hurdles. I know in the beginning, there was a lot of things me and Jeff had to unpack. We both had been in the lifestyle, but we obviously had our own baggage. Right. And what I liked versus what he liked. And I always tell everybody, live it by your rules. What worked for me might not work for you, might not work for Ricky, might not work for the next couple. It's your private life. It's yours. Communicate. I can't say that enough. I see so many couples that, oh, I'm in trouble. Okay, well, why are you in trouble? Like, did you do something you weren't supposed to do? Oh, yeah. Okay, well, then I will say personally, and I'm not saying this to discourage anybody, that if you're getting into the lifestyle to fix your relationship, it's not going to fix your relationship. Like, it's just going to make it worse.
Session.
Yeah, it's not. I know for us, we love it. I love seeing him being sexual and being with other people. It's a turn on, and I know he likes the hot wife, but at the end of the day, if
well, he's got one, that's why.
Thank you. I will say that, and take it at your pace. I knew Jeff for a year before I even delved into that because I wasn't sure how I would handle poly. I really didn't. And we just kind of let the relationship build naturally, and we didn't force it. And it literally, one day we were at a concert and he asked me to slow dance, and I went, oh shit, I fucking like him. God damn it. Like, that's literally how it went down. And even then we still had lots of conversations and baggage to unpack, and live your life truest to you.
And any shout outs? How do people find you? Like, what's your bi events? What
that
username?
Might have to be. So I will say this: if you want to talk to us, you want to talk to Jeff. I am very much like a squirrel. I will see something shiny and I will forget what's going on over here. So if you message me and I don't message you back, that's just how it is. We are CFL, so Central Florida, so CFL Wild Ones. And I know we're on the bi page, and we do have
SLS.
We have SLS, and we are both on FetLife separately.
What's your FetLife?
I am Naughty Nick, and I think he's You Try to Win, and Naughty's NAWTNIK. But it shows that we're married.
But you can always find you here on the bi.
Yeah, on the bi.
So.
I will say 95% of the communication will be with him, just because, like I said, I'm horrible at stuff like that.
You just show up.
Yeah, and I'm like that in my defense. I'm like that with him. Like, he literally will be like, "I sent you a message like 5 hours ago," and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I read it. Sorry." But yeah, we try to make a point to always do the Tarpon Springs, and as stated, we as a group do things outside of the bi. We all try to get together and do stuff. So if you're new and you're nervous and you're afraid, don't be. Come say hi. And I'm telling you right now, it'll be a life-changing experience.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for coming out and having fun. And this was a great conversation. So we're glad we could get your perspective.
Well, thank you for having me.
Very good.
Maybe one day we'll get the other half to actually come and talk. He just is, shamming.
It's all right. Tell Jeff we love him and say hi to him when you see him.
Required.
Yeah.
Maybe, so we're thinking about maybe doing a topical episode at one point. So we'd love to have your input on something. So we'll figure it out in the future, but something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm really always down to talk. And as you can tell, I talk a lot. So if you meet me, there won't be awkward silence.
Yes.
That's good. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for watching. And we'll see y'all later. Well, everyone, that wraps up this episode of the Living Life Between the Lines podcast. Make sure you smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any bi events news. Be sure to send Ricky an email at ricky@bievents.com if you want your story to be featured on our show. Tune in next week for next week's episode and many more episodes to come. As always, stay positive and love your life.